Most people think they win conversations by talking more. They don't. They usually lose power by reacting too quickly, defending too much, and trying to force understanding from people who were never listening in the first place. That is the difference between the reactive person and the Stoic responder. One rushes to prove, the other stays in command. The moment you answer emotion with emotion, you already gave away the higher ground, and most people never realize how many arguments could have ended the second they stopped trying to prove themselves. That is the hidden cost of loudness. It makes you easier to pull off center. But there is a better way. These 5 replies can change how people test you, pressure you, and remember you. And it all begins with the Stoic rule behind every powerful reply. Stoic communication is self-command, not dominance. The goal is not to embarrass people, overpower them, or win through aggression. The goal is to stay calm, clear, and unshaken. Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus understood this well. Real strength is measured by restraint, not volume. Reaction belongs to the unstable mind. Control belongs to the disciplined one. Noise tries to overpower. Silence holds its ground. Impulse wants release. Principle chooses the better outcome. That is why the right reply begins before the words are spoken. It begins with the inner state behind them. If you keep trying to win with emotion, you stay trapped in battles that never needed to happen. And once that becomes clear, the first 2 replies become incredibly powerful. Because sometimes the smartest move is not to attack. It is to clarify and disarm. The first 2 replies are simple. What exactly do you mean? And I see it differently. And they work because they slow the conversation down. They remove the emotional bait. They force the other person to become clearer. Most conflicts grow because people answer accusations instead of questioning them. They assume the attack is strong, they get defensive, and then the whole exchange becomes noise. But clarity breaks that pattern. Assumption creates tension. Clarity creates space. Reaction tries to survive the moment. Wisdom tries to understand it. When you ask for meaning, weak attacks often fall apart on their own. That is the hidden power here. Calm questions expose weak pressure. Most people never realize that asking for clarity is often stronger than trying to defend themselves. And once the pressure loses its grip, the next move is to set a line they cannot cross. The 3rd reply is simple. That doesn't work for me. No over-explaining, no apologizing, no inviting debate. That is what makes it powerful. It creates a boundary without begging for approval. It protects self-respect instead of performing for acceptance. Weakness makes boundaries negotiable. Inner command makes them clear. Performance tries to keep people comfortable. Authenticity tells the truth and stands by it. People who respect themselves do not keep making their limits flexible just to avoid discomfort. They understand the hidden cost of weak boundaries. A life where everyone gets access to you, your time, your energy, your peace, and if you keep saying yes to keep the peace, you stay trapped in other people's expectations. Real power begins when your words finally match your standards. And once your standards are clear, the next move is knowing when to stop giving more. The 4th reply is, I'm not available for that. Short, final, unshaken. And that is exactly why it works. It ends pressure without drama. It shuts down manipulation without inviting a fight. It removes the opening for endless debate. That is the difference between chaos and peace, reaction and control. The point is not to be cold. The point is to be unavailable to nonsense. Because over-accessibility has a cost most people ignore: emotional exhaustion, resentment, and weak presence. Every time you explain your limits too much, you reopen the door. Most people never realize how much power they lose by over-explaining what should have already been clear. This reply works because it is short enough to stop the loop, but strong enough to end it. And once the loop is broken, silence becomes the most powerful reply of all. The final reply is simple. I've said what needs to be said. Then stop talking. That silence is not weakness, it is control. Strategic silence can end manipulation. prevent spiraling, and force the other person to sit with the weight of what was already said. Noise tries to keep the fight alive. Silence lets the moment end. Chaos wants one more sentence, one more defense, one more reaction. Peace knows when to stop. Psychologically, people often keep pressing only because they sense uncertainty. The aios moment that uncertainty disappears, the pressure loses power. Most people never realize how powerful they become the moment they stop chasing closure from someone who came to provoke them. And that is the shift that changes everything. Because the real power is not just in what you say, it is in who you are when you say it. This is what changes when you speak from Stoic control. You become harder to provoke, harder to pressure, and harder to manipulate. Weak people react quickly. Strong people respond deliberately. And that changes your whole identity. You become calmer, more respected, less available to nonsense, and harder to rattle. You stop treating every conversation like a battle. You stop giving away your peace just to be understood. That is the power of the Stoic communicator. Rare words, clear words, controlled words. Words that carry weight because they are not wasted. If this gave you clarity, reflect on which reply you need most, comment on the one that hit hardest, and continue into another video on Stoicism, boundaries, or emotional mastery.